Take away, Chris.
Well, thank you. We should have some trumpets since this is a call to action. But anyway, this is a quote I like, and apropos to what we're talking about. It's aimed more at the petroleum and carbon economy, but it really applies to construction because we're in desperate need of a transition to better solutions. The Stone Age did not end because we ran out of stones. We transitioned to a better solution. So one of the main reasons we need a better solution is that we've got a real challenge. We need to build more affordable housing globally, and we also need to reduce energy use because of the climate crisis. Those are mutually exclusive usually because of the green premium. The more energy efficient a structure is, the more it costs. One of the main problems is that the traditional construction is very complicated. On the left, you see what we do mostly internationally. To the right, we'll recognize what we do in the US. Very complex systems, lots of parts, lots of labor, lots of waste, and not very productive at all. This graph summarizes that. The red line there that's flat over the last 30 years, no productivity gain, hardly at all. Whereas the blue line shows you the productivity gains in the general manufacturing sector, where new materials like carbon fibers and graphene have been implemented and whole industries have been transformed, like, electrical cars. The result in our industry is affordable housing has decreased. Costs have completely increased. You look here over the last 20 years, housing costs globally have increased by 70%, which has left, and incomes have not caught up, have not maintained that same pace. The energy challenge portion of this is also acute. Traditional construction is not energy efficient. Brick and mortar has a very low R value. Frame building, as we do in the US a lot, has thermal bridges. The studs provide thermal bridging, and you have a lot of air leakage. And then this is magnified by what is being called the cooling crunch. So here, some of the most rapidly growing countries in the world are exactly the countries that have the highest number of days where air conditioning is likely to be needed, because those are the hot days. And you can see this on this graph. These are the countries where this is energy consumption in most of these countries. So you've had a doubling of air conditioning use in these developing economies, whereas in the more developed economies, energy use in air conditioning is flat. So don't be afraid to take big steps when one is indicated. You can't cross a chasm with two small jumps. We need revolutionary innovation. We can't continue on with very small incremental innovations and expect to yield the types of results. And I liken it to kind of some of the original ideas for revolutionizing agriculture, the designs for a four-legged mechanical horse, right? Just little incremental changes. Doesn't make a lot of sense. We don't see a lot of mechanical horses. We see tractors, which completely changed the way that agriculture was done at the time. And so, here's some pictures of what we're doing. We're trying to automate these complex systems, right? We're putting in robotics to cut a bunch of parts. We're trying to put them together with robotics. We've got a bunch of layers still. This is really expensive, really expensive and not that effective. And I think this quote from Bill Gates really summarizes the problem. Automation applied to an efficient operation will magnify efficiencies. Automation applied to an inefficient operation will magnify the inefficiency. I fear that we are magnifying overall the inefficiencies in the construction systems. What we've done at Vantem is to rethink the system completely, replacing all that complexity that we talked about with a simple structural panel, 3 parts, a complete insulation layer in the middle that has no thermal bridging, a special ceramic facing on both sides that does not require additional cladding because it is completely weather resistant and structural. What we do is we apply that panel to the floor, the walls, the roof, to modular volumetric structures. So we end up with this beautiful, airtight, very structural envelope, kind of like an ice cooler, which we produce in off-site construction as a volumetric modular unit on something that looks like automotive production lines. These are delivered to the job site about 80% complete, meaning everything's in there. The electrical, the plumbing, the flooring, even the furniture. The only thing that is still done on site is usually the foundations and a little bit of stitch up. This is a project we recently completed in South America. Now, for this to be globally applicable and applicable to our times, any solution's got to be resilient, climate resilient. And so we made a very strong focus on this, and I'm proud to have homes that have been through Hurricane Dorian, the strongest hurricane on record with no problems, 8.2 magnitude earthquakes, and the product is fire resistant. So this Simplicity Payoff, what is it? Well, in our case, we've been able to lower costs against traditional construction by 20%. We have an envelope that is 70% more energy efficient, and that translates to, on say a 2,000 square foot home, about 40 tons of CO2 saved per year, or 2,000 tons over 50 years. Our long-term goal is to reach 0.5 gigaton CO2 reduction annually. For this, we've partnered with Breakthrough Energy, Bill Gates's fund for carbon reduction. This will mean that we look to build 250,000 homes globally to reach this goal. And so what we're trying to do is, back to the earlier slide, we are trying to get rid of that green premium. That's what Vantem does. That's what this rethinking of the system does, so that we're able to lower costs and lower the energy use at the same time, and to do it in a way that's globally applicable for volume. So another quote by our new good friend, we need to accomplish something gigantic. We have never done this before. We have to do it much faster than we've ever done anything similar. That's the call to action right there. So thank you very much.